I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers have traded away Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles. What went into this decision? How did this happen? What's up next? We'll talk about all that here on this emergency episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. Woo, Steelers fans. It has been a week, and I'm not even just talking about the side of things it covered. It has been wild changes to this Steelers team all throughout the week, from the signing of Russell Wilson to the trading of Deontay Johnson away, signing of Patrick Queen to linebacker, and now the trading away of Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles, a move I did not see coming. Now, let's go over the compensation real quick, what they got back for it. The Steelers trade with Kenny Pickett away. They also give up their 120th overall pick, which is their second fourth-round pick, because remember, they had two going into this draft. And in return, they get the 98th overall pick, which is a third-round pick, and two 2025 seventh-round picks from the Eagles. Now, the third round pick this year, basically, this is a pick swap with an addition of two seventh-round picks for Kenny Pickett. And there's a lot to break down as to what the heck just happened here. You can look at different things and start to ask serious questions as to how did it come to this, where just a week ago we were going into this week. If you remember, we were going into this week thinking Kenny Pickett's the only quarterback they have on the roster. Who are they going to support him with? Are they going to get Ryan Tannehill? Are they going to go get bring Mason Rudolph back? Who are they going to get someone else? How are they going to handle this situation? They signed Russell Wilson. And you're thinking, okay, well, maybe Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett compete with each other, and maybe Russell Wilson's just the starter, and then you see if Kenny Pickett can come back from that and come up. And man, this has been a complete turn. Now, some people are probably wondering, was this what led to this move? Now, according to Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, one of my colleagues there, he tweeted out that the Steelers made this move, and I quote, because of the way Kenny Pickett poorly handled the arrival of Russell Wilson, according to his sources, saying that came on the heels of Kenny Pickett's behavior at the end of last season, referencing, Jerry went on to reference the game against the Seattle Seahawks, where he had the option to be the third string emergency quarterback that would be available if everything went bad, and Kenny Pickett said no to that. We talked about that on the show. Originally, it was said he turned down the second quarterback job. That didn't happen, but the third quarterback job, apparently, that did. And we saw that was more about, him being an emergency quarterback and having to maybe take a numbing shot to get back in the game, to be ready that week instead of just resting and being available. Because again, he was the number 2 quarterback for the rest of the season at that point. After that, because he was active for those next games. But this just seems like a complete upside down flip of where the Steelers at least appeared to be approaching this season. We just had Omar Khan. We showed him the clip on this very show where he said he had full faith in Kenny Pickett, and the team had full faith in Kenny Pickett. And that, if you remember talking about it with Omar Khan, they said, well, we do have just one quarterback on the roster. We plan to add a couple more. So we like to go into camp with 3, maybe 4 arms just to be ready, so we can have, a bunch of different things lined up for them. And the bringing in of Russell Wilson, if that led to Kenny Pickett feeling uncomfortable in Pittsburgh, if that led to him, saying, I want out of here, or if it led to him, just acting poorly, or whatever is being described there by Jerry, saying that he did not take it well, that is not the Kenny Pickett that the Steelers thought they were getting when they drafted him as far as a leader. And again, I've acknowledged on this show, I've been called a Kenny Pickett hater because I was pointing out his lack of play and his lack of good play at times, and the missed passes that he had were wide open guys over the middle. And I was a person that said, listen, like I said from the jump, I think Kenny Pickett can develop into the guy. He's a hard worker. He's a leader. He's a guy that can say and do the right things in the face of adversity. I saw him do it at Pitt. And I thought that would be the attribute that would eventually win him a good position with the Steelers. And apparently it's not, because I said this, I wasn't 100% sure if the Steelers would get a Russell Wilson, but I did say the Steelers should get whoever they feel like will give them the best competition at QB1 to have the best quarterback to start next season. And if that included Russell Wilson and it came at the right price, which it did, then it made sense. And if Kenny Pickett couldn't handle that, then Kenny Pickett wasn't ever going to be your guy, because he can't handle the pressure of just simply having competition in his quarterback room. And if you can't handle that kind of pressure, you can't handle being a starting quarterback in the big games, even though he did come up with several game-winning drives. I think when you look at his career now, he finished with the Steelers 7 game-winning drives and 6 fourth quarter comebacks. But will he be able to do that in big games if he's not able to even just take a little bit of adversity of having a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback in his room? No. And you go back and you look at Russell Wilson's press conference that happened in Pittsburgh on Friday, and he was talking about how the team well received him, like the defensive leaders talking to him. And so now you're wondering what the heck went into that made the Steelers say, we're just moving on from Kenny Pickett in this situation and not even worrying about him being there. And again, here's the other thing about this, like Kenny Pickett, if he did request to be traded, we don't know that for sure, but if he requests to be traded, you go to the Eagles, you don't have a chance to start there. Jalen Hurts is like one of the biggest playmakers in the NFC at quarterback. Like that's not a favorable situation. You had a better chance of getting a starting job next year. After Russell Wilson's 1-year deal is done. Or if Russell Wilson got hurt or was playing poorly and the Steelers would put you in, you had a better situation there. So that does not add up to me. And again, I'm a person who, when I'm on the show, anyone that follows me, when I'm wrong about something, I'm wrong about something. Or when I didn't see something coming, I'll admit that. I had no idea this was coming. I thought that Kenny Pickett was going to take this on the chin, be like, all right, I'll show up. I'm gonna work my butt off, and I'm gonna be the best person in the building. And I'll win that job back, or I'll be ready for when you call my name to prove that I could be your franchise quarterback. That was the Kenny Pickett character that I saw. That I was like, hey, that can be something that you hold on to. But apparently, that's not who he is, and that's part of why the Steelers are moving on here. And I think that there's a lot to be said about how they're trying to reshape everything. And you look at this offense and what they're doing right now. Everything is being uplifted, and right now, with the moves that Omar Khan is making, you have to think the Steelers, they're taking some big swings right now to make some big changes. Deontay Johnson was your number 1 wide receiver, gone. Kenny Pickett was the guy you were hoping to become your franchise quarterback, gone. Chukwueze Okorafor, one of your highest paid offensive players, gone. Mason Rudolph, gone to the Titans. Mitch Trubisky, cut. This team is trying to take drastic steps to make big strides and big improvements on offense. I want to talk about what steps might come next right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood, if you didn't know, if you can have a 401k for retirement, but you can also still have an IRA. And that's where Robinhood comes in, because they have the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. Thus, this offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal information. Claims of Q1 of 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves high risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the NCAA tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or on a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 back in bonus bets if their first $5 bet hit a $5 bet or more wins. That's $200 back on bonus bets that you can use on point spreads, money lines, or even just pick who's going to win it all in March Madness. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn for new customers to get $200 back in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We're continuing this discussion of where the Steelers go from here. Before we get to that, I have to illustrate to y'all what it was like for me learning this information. This is Friday. We're recording this. I'm here in Washington, D.C. That's why all week long you've been seeing me in a different arrangement. I'm not in my normal home studio. And so I've been recording and I've said, hey, pardon our dust as we do things here because I'm covering Pitt in the ACC tournament, which they're playing in the semifinals against North Carolina tonight. And that's been awesome and it's a lot of fun. But I took Friday as like a day like, hey, you know what? We've done all our things there. There's no other shows to have to do. The Steelers are done making moves for the week. I'm going to go. I went to the African American History Museum and I was like, let's go check this out. I've wanted to see this for years. I'm in there with my partner, Noah Hiles, and our friend, Jim Hammett. And then I'm like looking at some fascinating exhibits and being like, wow, this is amazing. And taking all this history. And then Noah says, hey, Carter, you got to come here. And I'm thinking like, oh, he found something really cool. He's going to show me something. He's like, Kenny Pickett got traded to the Eagles. And I was like, shut up. Because I'm tired of this. Because if you've been following this show, you know I had to redo a Sunday show right after Russell Wilson was signed. You know I had to re-edit the show after Deontay Johnson was traded. The Steelers continue to just make me go to extra work. But hey, that's what we do here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We grind. Now, let's get back to talking about the aspects of this. So again, if you're the Steelers, you have now completely reset your quarterback plans. Like it was obvious with the signing of Russell Wilson. You're acknowledging that Kenny Pickett wasn't working out, but you're hoping that maybe he can turn it around, he can learn, and then he can still become the quarterback that you drafted him to be just 2 drafts ago. But now that's out the door. And so now the Steelers have to go look and find somebody who's going to fit that role. And the very obvious name that everyone's going to start to bring up, and this time I think it's legitimate, is Justin Fields. And I was a person who said Justin Fields didn't make sense before because if you trade for him, you're going to have to give him that 5th-year extension. And then that's going to be coming up right with Kenny Pickett's 5th-year extension. What you going to do about that? But now you don't have Kenny Pickett to worry about. And you need a young quarterback in your room. This team cannot go out and sign Ryan Tannehill and, I don't know, name an old quarterback that's still hanging around the NFL. This team needs a young quarterback in this room that they're hoping that could develop. And if he doesn't develop, oh, well, they take another shot at that in a year or two. But now I think this puts the Steelers squarely in play to make a play for Justin Fields. And I think it might be a good situation for them right now because the Bears have been dangling Justin Fields for about a few weeks now, and no one's taken the bait. So maybe you can go in and be like, look, buddy, you don't have that many suitors. We may be in a tough situation here, but let's just swap some picks and call it a day. Maybe you take that 3rd-round pick that you just got back from the Philadelphia Eagles, flip it back to a 4th-round pick from the Bears, and then you're just like, all right, we got a little bit higher of a 4th-round pick, and we got Justin Fields instead of Kenny Pickett, and that could be the swap there. I'm just saying that makes a lot of sense. I don't think it opens the door for this draft class as much unless they do good. If they do get a Justin Fields, it does open the door for they need to get someone in this draft class at quarterback. If they don't get a Justin Fields type of a younger quarterback who they think they can be moving forward. And frankly, I think Justin Fields is the only player like that available right now who we know can be traded for or, moved on and added right now. Because if you've been listening to me talk about this quarterback class, I've been like, with Kenny Pickett on the roster, it didn't make sense to go get a Bo Nix because Bo Nix is just kind of another version of Kenny Pickett. He's older, had a good last year in college, was up and down at times. Michael Penix, I like Michael Penix. I like his spirit. I like the way that he fights, but he gets hurt a lot in college. And if he gets hurt a lot in college, he's probably going to get hurt a lot in the NFL. And then there's also J.J. McCarthy, who a lot of people are thrusting him into the 1st-round conversation. I don't see it. Maybe there's something else there that someone else knows that I don't, but I don't see it there. And I don't think that they have the ammunition right now, unless they wanted to sell the farm, but I don't think they have the ammunition to go get Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, or Drake May in the top 5 picks of this draft class. So with that being said, Justin Fields makes a lot of sense. And then you can still draft maybe like a Spencer Rattler or like, the guy out of Tulane or, a late 6th or 7th round quarterback that can be like your camp arm type of guy and let Fields learn behind Wilson. You see how you do this year with Wilson. And if Fields is taking the right steps forward, you could have him on that 5th year extension in 2025 and then see if he's your guy. And if he is, you did it. And if he's not, oh well, you take another stab at it really soon. But now without Kenny Pickett, you need to take some sort of action to try to fix the quarterback room. Because I'm not so sure that that they're going to do so anytime soon. I think it also speaks to it's a good thing that I think that they're going the way that they're going with their offensive coordinator plan, Arthur Smith, because Arthur Smith is a guy who we've said all along isn't a guy who's trying to turn his quarterback into a superstar player or rely on him to be a superstar player. They're just asking you, hey, make the simple reads, trust the run game. Here comes play action, hit on the big play when we give it to you. That's it. Don't turn the ball over and let this defense kick butt for you. And I think the Steelers defense, it can still kick butt. I think that we talked about on Friday about the adjustment of Deshaun Elliott coming in at safety could very well let Minkah Fitzpatrick get back to being an X factor player. Patrick Queen can fix the linebacker room with Landon Roberts. And if Cole Holcomb gets healthy, that's 3 really good starting caliber linebackers there. Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, a good 1-2 punch. Maybe you add another one in the draft there at corner. Hayward, Benton, and Ogunjobi. Like there's pieces. And of course, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, like the 2 best edge rushers in the NFL. There's pieces to still make that a good to great defense. The question is, can they get an offense that can capitalize enough on that to win more of their games consistently? And if they can do that, I think that puts the Steelers in a serious contender situation. But I'm not so sure that I'm not so sure that things are going to go as smoothly at quarterback as just assuming that, oh, well, Russell Wilson will just fit in like a glove. It's going to take time. Yes, he had 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions last year, and I think that's a good rate. And if he could do that again for the Steelers will be in some good spots. But make no mistake, this is still a huge swing of the bat from this front office to try and reset so many different things at the same time. When you're resetting that much, you have that many more chances for things to fall apart on you, and that's what the Steelers have to be wary of right now. You also have plenty of chances for things to be built up in the right ways, and then all of a sudden, you're in a really good spot as a franchise. Either way, I think the Steelers have put themselves in a situation where we're going to see an entirely new offense, not just the scheme of it, but a lot of these players. The quarterback play is going to be different. Wide receiver play is going to be different. I think the Steelers have a lot of work to do. And maybe Omar Khan has some master plan. Maybe that Justin Fields trade is coming. Maybe there's some other trade that I'm not aware of that makes a lot of sense. Maybe they're going to go up and get one of those top quarterbacks. Who knows? Because at this point, the Steelers front office is acting in ways that we have not seen them act in our time, like studying them. There's a lot of unprecedented type moves that they've been making as of late that just catch people off guard who studied them and have waited, it can usually anticipate or feel for when certain moves are happening. But no, this front office is moving and shaking, and we'll see how they continue to move and shake throughout the weekend. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks so much for tuning into this emergency episode. We'll have more thoughts on this. This is just my reaction. I literally have to change into a suit in the next 5 minutes and get down to the ACC tournament because Pitt plays in a couple hours, and I want to get set up early and take in the vibes before the game so I can do my accurate reporting there. But I just want to thank everyone who's been riding with us throughout all of this, because this has been an insane week to be checking in on the Steelers. And I appreciate every single one of you that tuned in on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting apps and just shouted us out on the show. Appreciate everyone who was like, hey, get up on it, Chris. And I was like, all right, I will. I got to get back to my apartment here first that I'm staying in here in DC. So we hope that you appreciate that and that you guys have enjoyed this podcast. If there's not another move, I'm gonna happily not do a show for Sunday, but I will have a show up Monday where we talk about more fallout from this and what it means moving forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps or on YouTube.